Hi guys, hello from Paris. Living in France may look like a dream, especially if you watch the Emily in Paris series. Sparkling Eiffel Tower, nice restaurants, high-end fashion boutiques, cultural events, cocktail parties, you name it. And yes, it is all here. But you can actually profit from it if you can afford it, right? You have to earn enough in order to live in a nice neighborhood, dine out, and enjoy contemporary ballet events, for example. At least this is something that I really love spending my money on. I'm not sure if it's on your bucket list. Please let me know in the comments. So hi, I'm Katia and I moved to France 5 years ago. At first I was an entrepreneur, but last year I decided to go and switch back to the corporate career. And I went through the toughest experiences in my life, looking for a job in France with no local diploma and with no fluent French. In today's video, I want to share with you my whole job search experience here in France and also 10 lessons that I learned from it. And it's going to be very practical tips that helped me to land my six-figure job here in Paris. And first, just for the context, I want to discuss what is wrong with the French labor market and why is it so challenging to find a nice, high-paying job here. First, French companies generally prefer French diplomas. And surprisingly, for me as an immigrant, those are not the diplomas from French universities, but from the elite institutions called Grande École. The examples could include HEC or École Polytechnique. Only those kind of institutions will actually open doors to a big careers, if I can put it like that. Careers with high salaries, with nice growth opportunities, and so on. So second point, French typically love linear careers. This means that if you switched your careers one or several times in your life, basically you have a problem to find a job here. How does it work in France? So you graduate from the university, you go for an internship in some industry and in some functions, and typically you stay and you grow within this career path. Candidates who switched careers are not in the top priority list of French recruiters. Third, fluent French. Does it go without saying? No, I'm kidding, of course. There are English-speaking jobs in Paris, that's for sure, but they would be like 0.1% of all the jobs available in the market. So if you don't speak fluent French, you're actually narrowing yourself the opportunities that you have.
I'm going to be working in this office.
Je vais travailler dans ce bureau.
Last but not least, in France, surprisingly for me, for example, the average salaries are pretty low. Even within Europe, if you compare it to Germany, the France salaries will be lower. I will show you here the example of the average brand manager salary, and you can see how different are the figures for France, Germany, and US. And the taxes here in France, they are really high. Of course, the living costs are different, but Paris now is officially in the list of top 10 most expensive cities in the world. So you see my point. Salaries, cost of living, the math is not mathing. On a brighter side, of course, there are some benefits of working in France. This would include some social benefits, huge number of PTO days, so you're actually getting like 1 month or even more of paid leave. Then also there is some unemployment support and many more. Now, as you know more or less the context of the French job market, I will also share the context that was my personal one. What was my background? What was my starting position when I initiated this process of looking a job in France, landing it, and finally working. So talking about my education, I did my bachelor studies in Russia and I was specializing in logistics and supply chain management. Then I decided to switch for marketing management and I got a full scholarship and moved to Milan first, to Bocconi University, and then after 1 year to Copenhagen Business School for my master's degree. So in terms of my career, I have overall about 10 years of career experience. First 3.5 years I spent in a global CPG player called Mars. I did a full 3-year rotation leadership development program for graduates there, and then I was a brand manager for some time. After that, I switched to management consulting and I joined McKinsey, which is a US-based reputable consulting firm. And then for another 3 years, I was in entrepreneurship, as I mentioned before. So I was running a company called Art of Career, which was helping students and young career professionals professionals to go abroad to study, to get a scholarship, or to kick-start their careers, and so on. What is important to note here is that basically all of this experience was outside of Europe, so I didn't have any kind of experience in Western Europe. Talking about languages, I'm fluent in English, I'm fluent in Russian, it's my mother tongue. Then French, not doing that great. I have like B1, B2 level, so I can speak, but I've never experienced any interviews in French, or I have never worked in French as well. Now I'm moving to the lessons that I learned during this job search process and what actually helped me to land a job that I'm really happy about, to be honest. I applied to multiple companies, obviously, and I did it through referrals, so I was choosing carefully, I was customizing my CV and cover letter for each of the roles and so on, but yet I received a lot of rejections from French recruiters, and some of them just ghosted me, like never replied. And at some point I took a very insightful consultation with a career coach who was specializing specifically on the French job market, which is very specific, as I highlighted before. After this discussion, I decided to change my strategy and I switched my focus and started to look for global roles which were based in Paris. Why global roles? For several reasons. First, they are English speaking. Second, normally more diverse background and diverse experience is welcome there. And finally, the salaries are more competitive in the global roles versus local roles. So I started to look into the global ones. This is how I eventually landed my current role. I'm a global strategy manager in one of the major CPG players. I'm based here in Paris. Most of my team is based in Brussels. It took me about 5 months from the first chat with my future line manager to my actual starting day. This process was pretty long, but it was definitely worth waiting. So the first lesson that I learned is that networking is everything. It is impossible, really hard, if not impossible, to get through the clutter of all those thousands of CVs, especially if you're applying to the companies that are in high demand and roles in high demand, especially in job markets with high competition and in more tougher economic situation like now, for example. So let's take a case. You have 10 hours to invest in your job search. Instead of putting all the 10 hours into cold application via LinkedIn or some job search aggregators, you'd better spend 8 hours in finding the referrals or establishing contacts or re-establishing contacts with people within the companies that you're interested in, and 2 hours of actually applying there. Of course, it's important to do a very customized application and so on, but please invest most of your time into this networking part, because it is exactly the person that you have a link with who will be your advocate within the company, and not only for the screening process but also afterwards when you will be going through different interview processes and so on. And if you're asking yourself how I can find a referral in the market that I've never been to, I don't know anyone there is a very good read on this. I will put this book here. It's a 2-hour job search, and it explains how you can use LinkedIn in order to build those connections, even though you don't know anybody in the industry, for example, or in the market. In my case, it was one of my ex-colleagues from consulting, from McKinsey, who introduced me to my potential line manager, who is my current line manager. So networking was definitely the game changer for me in this process. Second lesson that I learned is that even with the referral, nothing is guaranteed. So you can still be rejected even before the HR interview, on the screening process. You just really have to keep going and accept the fact that it's normal. I went through it, so I know that it is easier said than done, but in reality you have to understand that most of the roles that are out there on different platforms or even in LinkedIn, they are either filled already or they're kind of virtual. So for example, the company is not hiring at the moment, but they want to collect CVs, or there's some legal processes behind it. So for example, they need to hire someone, but because of some legal reasons, they have to post this job opening for some time and make it available to public, but they already know that they're hiring someone. Or even those roles could be just suspended. And if you're asking yourself why they're still there on the market, well, procrastination is a human thing. I guess recruiters, as all of us, procrastinate sometimes, so we bump into some job openings that are not actually available. Third important lesson is that you have to mentally prepare for a marathon, not a sprint. On average, it will take you 6 months to find a job in Western Europe. It may take longer if you are looking for a very specific or rare position, especially if you are interested in only in a certain list of companies, or especially if you are looking for a high-paying job, which is sometimes a rare case in the French market. Fourth tip is I would really suggest you to look into the global roles. For me, it was a game changer, to be honest, mostly because they will be welcoming your diverse experience. And also, we started this video with this like how to land a 6-figure job in Paris. Those are the roles that pay more. Just full stop. One more thing, the fifth lesson. If you already worked in some international company before, like for example in your home country or elsewhere, I would really recommend you to look into the roles into this company in the French market or in any other markets you're looking for a job, because there is a higher probability that you will pass the screening phase first. There are maybe some colleagues who can recommend you internally, and overall the company will be more welcoming because like you already know the culture, you won't be surprised about like different policies and so on. So you are kind of not an outsider but an insider, and this could help as well. Lesson number 6, be 300% prepared for the interviews and go extra mile to show your motivation. In my case, I was so excited about the opportunity that I found because it really matched my personal values and my interests. I really went hard on preparation. So what I did a full document, like 40 pages with all the possible questions that I could get and the most relevant examples from my career, professional life that could match those questions. So I also spent hours with the career coach and the interview preparation coach who helped me to pick the relevant examples for different kind of questions. And I also had a separate communication coach who helped me to sharpen my answers and to make it more convincing, more assertive, and so on. And in addition to that, I also took 3 weeks to prepare for the assessment process because I had a task to do and so on. I think I might got lucky and get this job offer even without all these numerous steps of preparation process. But what really helped me is not only like the tactics, the interview tactics that I learned, but also the feeling that I am prepared. It's the feeling of confidence, which you can kind of project in front of the interviewer, in front of the assessors, and so on. I think this really makes a huge difference. So lesson number 7, be patient even after a successful interview or an assessment center. In my case, it took the company 4 months to come back to me with a positive answer and to give me a job offer that I signed after some salary negotiation process. It just takes time. So the next tip is get all the help you can. So there are multiple ways to get help in your job search process. The first one is the one that I already mentioned. Take a career coach, a career consultant who is specializing specifically in the market that you're looking for a role. This fact is very important because exactly this kind of person can help you to sharpen your strategy, to give you an outside-in look at your profile, at your CV, highlight your strengths, your development areas, and so on. Working with a career consultant or career coach is crucial in the steps, and I can assure you that this investment had the highest ROI, return on investment, that I ever done. So I highly recommend. Another option is to find people on LinkedIn. Especially, I would suggest to talking to people from your home country who are currently working in the market that you are looking for a job, because normally they are more responsive and they also know some specificities or, for example, some organizational questions concerning your job search and then doing a working visa and so on and so on. Lesson 9. We were talking about 6-figure salaries, so you have to negotiate your salary. Salary negotiation tactics is something that I won't be able to cover in this video because this one is already too long. But let me know in the comments, please, if you're interested. I will film a separate video and we will discuss what is the best way to negotiate your salary. And finally, learn this French. I mean, at least A2 B1 level would be enough. Not because you can put it on your CV and it will dramatically increase your chances to get noticed by recruiters, but also because it will make your life so much easier. Even though my role is entirely in English, I am based in French office, so I, for example, had to sit through the 2-hour session with the local HR who were presenting me all the details and nuances of the remuneration policy in France. And this is important information to understand, you know. Of course, it was entirely in French, I haven't mentioned. I really, really recommend you to learn the language in advance, at least at A2 B1 level. So guys, this is it. I really hoped you liked this video and found it useful. Please hit the subscribe button and give me your like if you liked the video. And stay tuned for more content from me.